This is a topic which I think some of you may find really interesting. It's a little bit cross-disciplinary, bordering on a couple of really very interesting issues, both in real estate as well as in the issues which are very dear to public domain, various groups and various parts of our societies. Phoenix from the ashes, revitalization and regeneration. I brought some samples of projects and the cases which I believe are quite relevant to what we are facing today. And I don't feel particularly afraid to say that these issues are really related to our hometown, to Warsaw. Warsaw is a very specific town. And I don't want to sort of repeat the long history. Why is it so specific in terms of the subject like revitalizations and regenerations? But it definitely is, I would say, almost a most important ground for the projects, for developments which are deeply rooted in recreating the old life back into the city. So I brought some samples, and I'll start with the projects which we've done good couple of years ago. This is in Czech Republic, in Palladium. I think you can imagine what is like to do the project in historical UNESCO protected downtown of capital of Czech Republic. And I would say that this was an extremely complex process, extremely involving both from a business standpoint, time, various groups of interest in the city authorities, public, and so on and so on. But it's been done. It's been done, and I consider this project and many others as one of the most interesting and successful revitalization projects in the region, in the city, which claims and rightly claims to be one of the most beautiful historical towns in Europe. So we can see that this old part was one big neglected site. We had the Austrian barracks here, we had old riding hall, couple of shabby buildings, and really was a place which was for a long time quite neglected. And I don't want to tell the whole history of the projects, what's been done and so on, but there are a couple of important things. It took almost 12 years from the initiation to the final result. The result was, I would say, spectacular. Within the historical substance, we managed to inject office buildings, underground parking structures, large, vibrant commercial center, cultural amenities, all working with the preservation authorities, all working with the city, all working with the various groups of interest in the capital of Czech Republic. And it all obviously starts from something which looks very simple, like simple commercial diagrams. Why? Because this is an absolutely necessary component of that whole process. You really have to understand why you are building this. And when you take all people involved, they will say various things why we have to do it. Some of them will say, well, we have to do it because our city is so beautiful, it deserves beautiful city. Some of them will say we need to bring back the city life, we need to have beautiful pedestrian paths, we need greenery, we need all that. Others will say, well, we have to do it so we can come back to the historical parts of, historical roots of the city. But the reality is that if you don't know why you are building this from a commercial standpoint, how you can meet the demands of today's, and not only today's, but even during the constructions of that project and the planning of that project, the customers' needs, customers' expectations, customers' likes, dislikes, purchasing power, all this changed. And that's the process which a developer with the imagination has to acknowledge. I stress the issue of cross-disciplinary approach. I think we will all probably agree that good business is a business good for everybody. It's business for the developers, business for the city, for people who live there, to visitors, to tourists, to everybody. And that's the ultimate goal. Especially the mixed-use projects, commercial mixed-use projects, it's very difficult to do it if you kind of left the others out of the equation. And these interests obviously are quite sometimes in a very dear need of moderation, in a very need of balancing out, but it has to be acknowledged. So like this, you can see what architects typically do. They have to get in terms with the preservation authorities, with the city authorities, meet criteria for urban planning, for historical aspects, for preservation aspects. So this is one of the components of that. But the previous ones, which I showed you, this is a very simple pictogram of the commercial essence of the project, which without that, nothing really will happen. You need the foundations right. And the result is obviously the fantastic synergy between the old and new. This old riding hall was raised up. The roof was taken outside, beautifully renovated and brought back. The parking structure was built. Several floors of the parking is built under this structure. And it's still all in a sync with the preservation, all with a sync with the city, all with a sync in the expectations of the public do not damage our heritage. And then the synergy of the old and new, mitigated, negotiated at every step with the church, with the city, with the traffic authorities, all this somehow came out together as a great success, as a catalyst for the development of that part of the city. It became, this plaza, by the way, is one of the most beautiful plazas in Prague. This the Obecny Dom, which some of you may know. It's one of the most beautiful buildings ever built in Europe. So this whole area suddenly, with the metro access, became a very good commercial success, but it also became a good citizen for the city. And just a quick snapshots of some of the interior aspects of it, which again has nothing to do with the cliche of a commercial shopping center. It's really maybe some roots of old department stores. The ambience of this building and its character is very much Czech. It's very well received. It became the icon for contemporary city retail. The next project is something completely different, from a completely different part of the world. It's Aleppo. Yes, it's Aleppo in Syria. This project was done in 2007, before all these tragic things happened. And this was, again, an urban intervention within the historical city. Some of you may know that Aleppo is actually a UNESCO protected city, which somehow that aspect is very much left out from the news. This is like a Florence of that cultural part of the world, like the Florence is for us. And within that, we've been charged with providing a new commercial component within the historical downtown. So again, a lot of these issues, even probably more profound, because the preservation authorities at that time and the city authorities didn't have such a strong regulations in terms of the protecting of its heritage. So in a sense, we had to be very sensitive. We had to be very sensitive to the also expectations of the international context of doing something like that in a city. So yes, you can do things like that, but you have to be very careful how you place this type of development in a historical part. In fact, think about it. It's absolutely not enough to just put a spreadsheet with the Excel and put the rents and the mix of the tenants and put the numbers. And sort of balanced it out with the cost and the prognosis and the loans and so on. It's absolutely not enough. This has to be something which really contributes to the city. The responsibility is not illusorical, it's real. We have to have a responsibility for the environment, for us, for our kids, for our families, for the city. And we have to work with the locals. And I'm telling you that, having 27 years of experience in international mixed-use developments all over the world. Every time this issue is absolutely fundamental. We have a very interesting case now, which is done in Belgrade, where Eagle Hills, which is Emirates developer, is building a new marina with a huge development in a very prominent place. And what is happening is it creates a lot of tension, because the character of that development and its sort of some may say uniqueness, but in the same time it's very foreign to the local historical context, creates a lot of resentments. And I was just reading recently in a Serbian press that they are comparing this to another project, which I want to show you in a second, which is the Eurovea in Bratislava, almost like a case-by-case study. Now let's go to Warsaw for a few seconds. This is Dom Towarowy Bracia Jabłkowscy, a jewel in the city. The only one left from the second, only true department store left pretty much intact. Somehow it happened in Warsaw. And before the war, this was the most popular, I wouldn't say luxurious, but most popular department store. It's located on Bracka, Chmielna, and now it's going to a process of revitalization. And again, it's such a fantastic pleasure to touch these issues, having that substance preserved and looking and searching for a very strong and for a very difficult task to commercialize, to make it real, to make it truly vibrant, to make a good business and still preserving the brand for the owners. This type of projects are absolutely unique in Warsaw. And I think we all should wish the family, Jabłkowscy family, which owns the building now, they regain the ownership of that, a success. Because this whole development may bring right position for this type of a trade back to Warsaw in a contemporary format. I mean, we can obviously argue that today's department store have no place in the city, but some people can sort of contradict that otherwise. And to find that formula, it requires a lot of imaginations from a commercial, for people who do commercializations, from the city, from the authorities, to make these things real. It also involves not only the Bracka main building, but also great opportunity for Chmielna, redevelopment of Chmielna, which some of you know probably was the most commercial street over the decades. Now it's sort of lost a little bit appeal, and this part is also a part of that effort. Eurovea, Bratislava. This project, as I just said, has been compared recently to the marina development in Belgrade. And there are a lot of cases. Why? Because this project was done by the book. It was worked with the city. It was worked with the urban planning. It looked for the ways to bring the urban fabric back to this area. This was a part of the industrial part of Bratislava, but the castle is here. This is this famous iconic bridge. The historical downtown is here. And Danube River, both the city authorities and the developers saw an incredible opportunity to join forces, to do it right, to make the proper parcelization of the land into the city blocks, and put it all together into the one commercially comprehensive development. And again, started from the commercial understanding what can be done, and from the understanding what the depths are, from the understanding what do we really want to achieve. So the conclusion was, let's achieve a proper high street concept within the city, covered high street. We know about our climate. It's not very it's not Ramblas in Barcelona where we can have people all the year round with the open format. We need to protect them from the rain, from the snow, and so on. So covered high street. And again, obviously, the architectural and urban planning work has been a big part of that. But what's most important was the synergy of various entities. We really have to do the projects like that together. I'm a very strong proponent, and a lot of cases which I've been involved with are showing this once and every time, that we have to really work together. And it's not a nice, elegant cliche to say, to put in a press and so on, but really, we have to meet these objectives together. And what do we get in the end? We get a proper commercial asset, which can be obviously done whatever the investors, developers are thinking about to do, sell, keep, sell part of the, make any other agreements. But what is left is really the fantastic part of land available for the people. This is one of the most popular park. And for that, it's worth to take one of the best landscape architects to do it. Really bring the best expertise to really achieve maximum. It really pays off in the end. Not only with that, with the aesthetics aspect, but not only with the commercial, but also for the city. The technology which was involved here for developing of that park was technology to protect the city and that part of the city over 1,000 years water. How important it is for the riverfront projects, I probably should not elaborate. If you remember some of the very unfortunate events in Czech Republic, in Prague, where the 1,000 years flood pretty much destroyed the old downtown and caused incredible costs and damages. And the one other very important component of that is we use the word mixed use. Mixed use. What does it really? Mixed use means really mixed use. It means different uses, means residential, means offices, means commercial, means entertainment, culture, leisure, sports, you name it. Why? Because ultimately we do it for real people. If you are going to have just the neutral structure plugged in the areas which otherwise are left neglected, I wouldn't call it regeneration or revitalization. I wouldn't necessarily call it raising from the ashes. Yes, it's just a new structure. We have to bring the life back to the city. Another interesting project, which I think it's also within that category, is Platz in Vienna. This area is now going through a very extensive process of urban revitalization. And again, what is very impressive is the way how various forces in the cities, public, various interests, various citizens groups, yes, of course, politicians and city officials and so on are all working together towards bringing the balance, proper balance, sustainable environment to this part of town. And yes, one of the integral part of that has to be a commercial viability. They are lucky because they have the sandwich property law, which allows them to build one things on top of another, have a separate titles, which is one thing which is still not here too bad, because we could solve a lot of problems with real estate by having that law in place already. Anyway, this whole area is built on the old train tracks and on the train station. And how to connect that with the city, how to take the advantage of the flows of pedestrian movement, how to bring the public transport in the least invasive way, how to really bring life what the life means in the city. We can attempt to make a simplified assumptions that if you have some trees, we have benches, we have cup of cafes, this is all fine. That's not enough. That usually is a failure. What it needs really mixed use. Needs various uses, various hours of operations, various hours of use. All this is really critical to make this place really true. Walk on Oxford Street. Simple. Why? You know, because it's alive pretty much all night, a day. It's full of people, full of shops, full of offices, full of cafes, full of restaurants, full of culture, trade, you know, you name it, everything is so colorful, so powerfully vibrant. That's what we should look for. There's a movement called placemaking.org. I strongly encourage you to look at that once in a while and see how we can join forces on making the projects together. And you know, basically we can talk about a lot of things here, but it's bringing the viable commercial aspects of proper GLA of retail, proper rentable for offices, proper public transport, issues of parkings, and so on. All this is here, or has to be there. We obviously won't avoid that by creating a beautiful scenography. But in the end, we have to accomplish a life. We have to accomplish truly lively, vibrant, multifunctional environment. This is a completely different arena, brownfield projects, Silesia. When we were doing that several years ago, everybody was saying that it's not worth it, nothing will come out here, there's no market, nothing, was basically no. The developer had enough imagination, and I think it's a right thing to really acknowledge that was the driving force to really go for this type of project. Turn the former coal mine factory into one of the most vibrant commercial enterprises. I took this project in particular to show it because, yes, you can do within the monoculture like retail, it could be a main catalyst, and you can do well. You can sell it well, as history of that project shows, was a great financial success for the sellers, and both for the first phase and the second phase. And then it turned into a mixed use. We had initially just a shopping center with a proper sort of a tenant mix, racetrack formats, and so on. But then after that, and after taking care, and in fact even insisting on, which is usually don't happen very often, but insisting on preserving the old structures into various uses, both for retail, both for sacral purposes. There's a chapel here, probably the only one within a functioning shopping center, and in fact, preserve is also a big part of this regeneration. It's not about to come to level it out and put a new structure. You really have to look for how to mix them both, because these old structures are the most precious. Sometimes difficult to really make them part of the new, but the effort usually is well, as Prague project shows, as Jabkovsky project shows. And then obviously the other assets came, the residential, all in a sync. So this area, which was really abandoned post-mining site with some difficulties in the soil conditions, became for that time and all still for today the key dominant commercial component in the city. Then the extension, different aspects, different stories. We could bring a little bit different language to it. And Poznań, very difficult project, done just before the European Championships. This is how it looked before. I was basically just in the heart of the city, was a train station and the tracks, and that's it. I mean, the end result of this project, which was done very quickly, was a new train station, not fully completed yet, I have to say. Large commercial component on the area which otherwise will stay empty and undeveloped. The biggest financial success for the developer, for the investors in that part of Europe. A huge financial success for the state treasury. And in fact, a catalyst for the development of Wolne Tory in Poznań, which is otherwise would not happen if the infrastructure of this project would not be developed. So this project is a combination of the train functions, of the railway functions with the commercial ones. Obviously controversial, some people say we should not mix that. Trains should be left trains, train stations should be train stations, retail should be retail, but the immediate question comes, okay, but who is going to pay for the beautiful renovated train stations, which has been recently done, where the operational costs are not even known at the time of the process of revitalizations? Who is going to pay for that? State treasury? Means we all. So, and this is, in fact, this is not a new idea. Look at the German train stations. They are all filled with the commercial functions. They help to justify the cost of keeping these train stations the way how they should be, how we all expect it. So there are a lot of reasons for this mix-use work together. Ljubljana in Slovenia, again, similar case, how to bring the commercial aspects into the city. Again, the platform over the tracks in a sync with the old train station. Another brownfield project, Bonarka. It used to be a chemical factory. What's happened is that today, I don't want to talk long about the history of the development and the process, is well-established commercial destination with several office buildings, B2B, several buildings, fully occupied, which are in fact a foundation for the success of an IT business in Krakow. So the regeneration and revitalization has different phases. Some of them are not realized yet. The best example is area of Aleje Jerozolimskie and Plac de Filat. Obviously, most of you know that there is a lot of reasons why there are some ownership issues, there are planning issues, and so on and so on. But we are probably now, after the Potsdamer Platz in Berlin has been rebuilt or built from ashes again, the only capital of European capital which has the very core of its city center empty. Empty and still contested and still not solved. A lot of reasons, a lot of issues which maybe it's not the time to talk about. But maybe it's a great opportunity because one day it will happen. One day we should have this whole area properly built with the recreation of existing urban fabric, with the compliance with the heights of the buildings in relation to just these very few old buildings, jewels left on the other side of Aleje Jerozolimskie. Something which will be fully commercial, something which will be vibrant, city-like, done to the language of such a language which would sustain decades. It should not be built to today's fashion or what we really think today about the architecture and even urban planning. Something timeless. So maybe in fact it's good that nothing happened yet, but we should all be aware that this is one of the most important parts of our city, which is still waiting for its time. And again, what we are looking for, I believe we should never look for the neutral, introvertic monoculture of functions like office or like retail or like residential. We should mix it all. We should have a city. There's so many examples which we can bring from the from the other parts of the world where these monofunctional downtowns are now turning back into the multifunctionals, where there are still very strong incentives to bring residential to the cities back. I think it's all on the anticipation, which we won't escape from that our transportation system will change, that all this functionalistic thinking about the transport, city transport, will be obsolete in 2 decades, maybe earlier. If you look at if you look at the type of transportation systems which we are now experiencing, which are now already in place. They are not universal yet, but they will be, because we have no other choice. So that will also affect the way how we, what our cities are, how this functional aspect of transportation will not be the prevalent one. We will look for other things, how to keep people in, what they have, what do we offer them. We have to fight for their attention, for their interest, for their time, what they will spend. And of course, none of these monofunctions is the singular remedy. All of them together, maybe yes. And then there's a sort of in a completely different scale, since we are talking about the various assets and various components of real estate, there are a lot of commercial projects built in the 90s or beginning of 2000s, which by definition need revitalization, need refurbishments, recommercializations. So that's also something which should be taken seriously. And you know, you can see that's how it was, how it's today. Some of them you may know: Cliff Warsaw, Cliff Gdynia, several projects of that nature, which there are great opportunities to make people feel better. You can see on the left how it was, on the right how it's now. This project in Gdynia. So those are just examples, but the time for this type of project is now, and it fits very well within the category of revitalizations. Another one in Galaxy in Szczecin, similar case. Pasaż Grunwaldzki in Wrocław. Or for a change, Deira city center, where exterior-interior revitalization took place and brought completely different ambience to the otherwise one of the most successful projects in Dubai, Majid Al Futtaim's projects. The snapshots of the process. Yes, things like that matters too. Trash cans, small benches. This is also a part of this process. From a big scale of the grand statements of the large buildings, we have to sometimes go to this type of issues to really have an impact. This is Manhattan Center in Gdansk, again, both inside and outside revitalizations, or even the project like Nimbus, which is a part of the regeneration of the Aleje Jerozolimskie along the tracks, which, you know, again was a post-industrial neglected area. Here there are other challenges: how to avoid this monoculture, how to create the base of the building which is open to the street, which has the contact with the customers. And the project like Dolina Wisły on the other side of the river where we are in, a fantastic opportunity for a riverfront on the areas which were industrial or car making, which is no longer, unfortunately, no longer the business here. So some ideas for the residential buildings. This is Młode Miasto, and several infills within the urban fabrics, like in Czech Republic, Vaclavske Namesti, where we can use the existing structure to really give it more life without really sacrificing the character and the architecture of the building. Or City Passage in Wiesbaden in Germany, similar case. Or something unique like this one, Chopin Riverfront in China, in Shanghai, where one of the most interesting area is being planned for the development of a really very substantial, in Chinese scale, multifunctional development for the music city, how we call it. And also bringing very rigorous commercial aspects as well as the strong thematic component. Extensions of the traditional previous generations of shopping centers like in Alexandria in Egypt. And this is the project which is currently on our boards, and I would say it's the essence of all this what I'm talking about. It's truly mixed use on a post-industrial site. It's in Turkey, in Balat, which is the city in Bursa, and again, a fantastic opportunity to create a place, to bring people in, to that phoenix from the ashes takes a shape and a form of vibrant, pedestrian, residential, office, commercial, cultural place, which will become a truly place for that part of the city. Just to demonstrate that this design process does not stop at the cup of sketches or statements or ideas and so on. This actually is happening. We have this project under construction, and this will become one of the most sort of important developments for the city. But again, placemaking, mixed use, multifunctional aspects, true understanding of the needs of the population. Don't look at your Excel only, look around, look what is needed, talk to people, talk to the various social and public entities. What do I really need? What they are lacking, truly? That's where, and then make your Excel sheet. So I think this is the room for such a great cooperation, for a great synergy. I really believe that our future for a successful developments, because they will become more and more competitive. Look at Warsaw, there's several in planning. There were several done. Look at Koszyki, how nicely this was done. A new life has been injected. We are looking, how successful this will be commercially in a long term. But there are Browary, which are now also under, there is Towarowa, which is waiting for the development. There's so many interesting projects. And I think we should have more discussions like that, not only within the development and real estate domain, but also cross-platform with the city. I hate to use the word educate, but maybe we could learn together from each other.